Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we are working on the concept for our Minmus landing platform here. I was going to say this is our Minmus, spaceport, but it kind of isn't. This is just the refueling portion. So this will have another module that will probably sit somewhere over here. That module will be pretty much just a mining and refinery module, and then another module that sits maybe on the opposite side of that will be the fuel tank, and then that will connect in over here. But I want to check one thing real quick. And before we do that, I need to check, yeah, we do have Bill here, so that's absolutely fine. So we need to do a little bit more work on this, for sure, this episode. And to that end, I do want to place, let's see here, I want a cargo container. I don't really care where it goes, in all honesty. Here is fine, I suppose. And inside of that, I want to create a external fuel duct. Or rather, put an external fuel duct in there. We'll put, in fact, we can put what looks like up to 4 in a single inventory slot. Okay, so that's good to know. So we'll have that there. And then the question is, let's see, where do they hide the Kerbal external seat? I can't even remember what it's called. Seat. No. External. No. I cannot remember. I don't know if we even have the tech right now for it. We may or may not. I can just go through this and real quick here and see if I see it. If not, then we can just put a pod in. It's not a big deal. But yeah, I think we're going to need to just put in a pod. I may not have that yet. Yeah, let's just go ahead and put in a random pod. I don't care which one. This one will do, and we'll just mount it in, say, we'll just flip it like this and mount it in like that. Okay, and inside of that, we're going to have Bill. Fantastic. Now, I do want to... Okay, the real question is, how are we going to do mobility here? So the answer to that is, A, I'm going to put this down by the ground, and B, we're going to need to have a ladder in this. So we'll do like a mobility enhancer, say, here. So we can extend that down like that, and you can see here it doesn't go all the way down. That's fine. We'll just put another one in basically there. That should, I think, be good enough. Yeah, in theory. Okay, so this is obviously all still just trying to figure out how exactly these mechanics work, right? I've not done anything with the Kerbal construction system in the latest patch. So this is mostly an experiment to see how that works. Yeah, the arm is a little heavy. There's no doubt about that. Okay, so let's have Bill go ahead and EVA here. And then he's just going to plummet to the ground. Boop. Fantastic. He's now going to get up. And he's going to just sprint his happy little self over here. We're going to grab ourselves some space here. And we're going to put in, say... Okay, he can only carry one fuel duct at a time. Fair enough. So he's going to come up over here. Of course, theoretically, this whole thing is going to be engineer built, right? But he's just going to climb up here. And we're actually going to need to change our target here. And if anything goes wrong here, we will feel completely free to revert it. That didn't go well, did it? Okay, let's grab this. I was thinking that he would be smart enough to move up here. Maybe he is not. I did just use the let go, though. So maybe if we do the climb out, yes. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so we're going to want to create something like this tank system over here. But for right now, we are going to go ahead and undock this. There we go. Don't exactly care where it goes. Here is fine. Okay, so let's see how this works, shall we? I know it's a cargo part that can be placed inside of inventories. I have no idea how to go about actually using this, now that I think about it. This is interesting, to be sure. ASP construction mode. Yes, how do we do this? That would be useful. I probably should have looked this up first. Let's see. Yeah, you have a limited manipulation range, blah, blah, blah. To enter EVA construction mode, click on the hook icon on the right icon group during EVA. Okay, so we're looking for a hook icon in a right icon group. Is that this over here? That would be this. Okay, so here we can see the container module. We can actually just grab directly out of there, and then we could connect this in theory. Okay, does it take him time to get that done? Or is it just because they're not actually connected? I believe it's because they're not actually part of the same craft that we can't connect this. Okay, that is good to know, for sure. So we do have to dock it up in order to be able to connect this in. That is very important information, and I'm very glad that we did this. So we're going to go ahead and revert that back to the vehicle assembly as we were anticipating. And now the question is, how many modular girder segments can we fit in something like this? Modular girder segments. Okay, so that would go there. Okay. That is not a lot. That is not a lot at all. So getting this up there is going to be very interesting. Technically, this is the larger container unit here. So inside of that, how many modular girder segments can we fit in? We can only fit in an area here of, or rather a volume of 2,500 liters. And these have a pretty good-sized volume. So that's going to be interesting. We can only fit 5 of those in here. Okay. Very good to know. How many of these in total are we going to need? The answer is a lot. This right here alone is 4, and then this is another 3. Okay. What about these grip pads? How big are those? Let's just take these out of here for now. Another thing we could always do is bring these up outside and disassemble it. I think we can disassemble it, right? We should probably redeploy here and double check that. If we can disassemble an existing vehicle. I'm pretty sure we can. Let's check. So let's load this in. I want to make 100% sure that I know what's going on here before we send this up. This is going to be very, very interesting. So we're just going to go ahead and let him plume it here a bit. And then we're going to turn on this here. And the question is, this exceeds the weight that a Kerbal can construct with in this gravity. Okay. We're going to revert this back to launch then, and we're going to test this on Minmus in that case. So let's see what it looks like with a simulation on Minmus. We'll just go ahead and place this over there. This will be reverted 100%. We're going to set this position over Minmus. I don't exactly care. This is not going well. There we go. Minmus. Okay, we're just going to place this here. Okay, that was very awkward, to be sure. Very, very awkward. I probably should have considered this. Landed. You call this landed? Okay. Apparently this is landed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to revert that back to launch again. And we'll try this again, this time with crash damage off. And I would like to ease us to the ground, so I think we'll have to raise this up a little bit more here. Yeah, maybe too close to the ground for the vessel dimensions. Suggested minimum altitude is 15.35. Okay, so that's fine, and we will also, while we're in here, for this purpose, we're going to do no crash damage as well. This was what, 15.35? Yes. We'll see if that breaks anything. Okay, we are definitely in an awkward angle here. There's no doubt about that, but this is not relevant to the actual test. Look at how slowly we're falling here. Oh, this is because physics easing is happening. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So, we kind of don't care at this point what ends up happening. Yeah, we're probably going to have some issues here. But I want Bill to go ahead and EVA. And he will let go. And he will attempt to get off of here. There we go. Excellent. So he'll come on down here, and we're going to enter Kerbal construction mode and learn how exactly this works on Minmus. Okay, this is just all simulations here, trying to figure out how these mechanics work after all. Yes, we can manipulate these. Fantastic. Yes, and we can manipulate this as well. It doesn't want to go back. Fair enough. Yeah, that's okay. We could set it in, you know, like over here. And so he's just able to work with those parts. That's fantastic. He's able to work with this as well. Wonderful. So he'd be able to unload that off of there like that. Now, I don't believe he can move the command pod. But that's okay. He doesn't need to. So this was the information that I needed to know. We're going to revert that back as expected, and we're going to turn off the no crash damage cheat. There we go. That was just the simulated information that I needed to know how this ends up working. So because you have to be docked in, that means that that is a good reason then to have a situation like this, where you have to dock it up, right? Which means that that is a very good argument for having this arm. Now, I don't necessarily want the arm to be in this exact state. For one thing, this extension is, well, this extension is fine, actually. This extension is, I think, pretty decent as well. One thing that I do want to make absolutely sure is that we have an alligator hinge and a rotation servo on each of these, and I actually don't necessarily want this rotation servo. That said, we might want to have a heavier duty rotation servo over here. So if we go into our robotics, we can put in like the biggest rotation servo, and then we would mount this right here like that. This does not need a hinge on it, so that should be fine. And then we would put in potentially a smaller servo over here, assuming it can hold this weight. I don't know if it can or not, but on Minmus gravity, it probably can. We'll do something along the lines of this, in theory. And I want to take a look at how that functions on the attach point to the superstructure in Kerbin gravity. That's the question here. So we'll see. And we don't have any visuals. That's helpful. We're going to go ahead and revert that back to the vehicle assembly then. And we're going to hop back into the KSC here, and hopefully that will regenerate it. That bug is a little obnoxious, I'm going to be honest. Okay, now we're good. Fantastic. So we're going to head on in. And as far as our tank farm goes, that's not going to be too complicated. But we'll go ahead and retry launching this now. I say launch. This isn't going to go anywhere. It's a platform. But yeah, that'll be fine. One of these days it'll load. There we go. Okay, so something along these lines. You can see here, this is definitely holding this weight better. It's primarily here, I think, that we're having the major issue. But if we were to do something like this, yeah, that's probably going to be, it's going to struggle a bit to hold this. But I think overall, in Minmus gravity, it'll be okay. If it's doing this well in Kerbin gravity, I'm fairly okay with this. We're probably going to have to turn the traverse rates down to make this actually usable, but that is fine. So let's flip this around like so, and we would open up the alligator hinge something along the lines of this. Again, that's probably going to need to be turned down in terms of its traverse rate. But we would run it something along the lines of this. Is this one overshot? Yes, by 5 degrees. That explains a lot, and you can see here that the weight is throwing us off a little bit too, but we have a lot of give for this. So that is completely fine. So we have to hook it up like this, which is certainly interesting, which means that we're going to need to have our other components docked, doesn't it? I believe that does mean that. Okay, so for right now, we're just going to revert this back, and I think our first goal should be getting this equipment, plus maybe a little bit more, up to Minmus. So obviously we're not going to have this. We may mount a, like, passenger module underneath here or something. Well, we're going to have to, of course, not lift this. That would be a massive mess if we lifted this. But what we're going to do, I think, first off, we're not going to need these ladders. If I can remove them, there we go. So this is a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so that is a total of 49 grip pads. Interesting. We're also going to need our actual mining facility, and apparently we can send things over modular girder segments. So that would be like off this direction. Now, I don't think that modular girder segments are necessarily the best, most efficient thing to use here, but we could do something along the lines of this. I would want to move these up to be like right here, because we're going to need to support this with something along the lines of this, like that. And then our actual mining facility would be off over this way, and then we'd have a tank farm, perhaps even just attached to that. So that would then be something kind of along the lines of a Jumbo 64 fuel tank. It would need to be up a little bit. So it would be up like this. Now that is not going to be able to be moved by a Kerbal. I can tell you that right now. So we would probably want this to have something along the lines of this that it would land with. Like that. And then we'd want to make this be, you know, about the same height. Like that. Something along those lines. This would also need an ore storage container, and let's actually just search for ore here. So we've got small holding tanks. What if we were to do something like, okay, this is kind of dumb, but what if we were to do an engine plate here? We would need an EP25, and we were to have there be quad nodes here. And then this would have simply some ore storage tanks. That is not quad nodes. I think we need to flip this guy around. Yes, we do. Okay. It's a little small. Okay. What if we go to triple? Still a little on the small side. We could just go with radial holding tanks. We don't actually need to store that much here. So we could do like radial holding tanks. Something like this. We wouldn't need the engine plate then. And that would store up to plenty of ore, in theory. And then we would just have Drill-O-Matics, the big version, and we'd have 4 of them, sure, but we would need to do it manually, having them be like... Please snap. Thank you. Having them be like... That is not where I wanted that. Can we come out of there? Maybe if we clip the camera in. Yes, something like this. So then we would have this guy here, and then we would duplicate him, and we'd have... Not there exactly, but more like there. I do want to check their range. Oh, that should be plenty of range. Okay, and then we'll mount one here. We will need thermals to deal with this. So, as far as thermals go, I mean, I would expect, in theory, that a couple of medium thermal control systems would be able to deal with this. Maybe. What is the Drillomatics max cooling? Required cooling of 100 kilowatts. Okay, so what do these medium thermal controls do? They do a whole lot more than that. Like, a whole lot more than that. Like, to a ridiculous degree. And then we'd have our ISRU. That would be up here. And that would be a convertitron to 50. So we'd land this on the surface, and then this would be built separately. In theory, we wouldn't even need a tank farm, I would think. This should be plenty in terms of a tank. So then we would extend this out like that, and that would do the cooling there. We would definitely want a battery in here. Probably something along the lines of that. And we would definitely want solar panels. And I think we would even want gigantors for this. I'm not sure what our actual power usage on this is going to be. We can take a look at that. So these take 7.5 per second. So we need to figure, what is that? 21 plus 1.5, 22.5. And then this requires cooling of 200 kilowatts, sure. But it also requires, in terms of its electric charge, 30 per second. So we figure we need around 50 electric charge per second, a little bit over, ideally. This is 24.4 here. So these two gigantors will actually not succeed in running this on their own. We could quad couple the gigantors, actually, and that would be fine. I'm a little concerned about this one being this close to the pad, but actually I think it's okay. I think it's reasonably okay. So the real question is, if we put this out on the pad right now, and I'm going to save it temporarily, if we put this out on the pad, just how broken is this going to be? And I do want to move this to be not quad coupled. I want to move this to be somewhere around here, around a third of the way in, and then this one to be somewhere around here. I mean, they should probably be moved in slightly closer, like that, and like, not that far, like that, approximately. Okay, that would give the support. Now, I think we're going to be off the pad. However, what if we were to do this on a different pad? Like, maybe the desert pad might have enough space. Let's see how it looks on this pad. It's probably going to be awful. I'm fully expecting this to be awful. Yeah, that's about what I expected. Right there. Fantastic. Okay, so we're going to revert that back to vehicle assembly, and let's try it on a different launch pad. Maybe one that's, you know, less awful. I believe there's a larger launch pad that we could use. So let's go ahead and go to the launch pad here. And where do we do that at? No, we do that from the VAB, don't we? I know there's an option in here somewhere for which launch site to use. And I have barely ever used it. No, it's not actually in here. I know it's here somewhere. We'll find it. We will absolutely find it. This is a learning process, though. This is something I've never attempted before. So, yeah, we just go in here, and it must be someplace that I'm missing. And we want the or the landing platform proofer here. It would be this one. Actually, either of these would be fine. And then we would want to launch this. But I guess that just goes directly to this pad. Oh, I know there's an option here somewhere. And somebody's very angry at me right now for not realizing it. Yeah, indeed. So this isn't going to go super well. Let's go ahead and pause that temporarily. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn on no crash damage right now. And I mean, ultimately, this gave me the information I needed, right? What am I even trying to do here? We are going to need a way to land this, and that's okay. We can revert this back to the vehicle assembly. And if we have this come in, like, we're going to need to figure out how we want to land this, right? We need both of these parts. And we can definitely have, like, crew up here. So we could have this be, if we had our pod in here, this would be, like, the remote guidance unit. That one would be an okay size. Something like that. Now, that does have reaction wheels. That's all well and good. That should be okay. And then we would need some sort of engines on this. I doubt 4 spiders would be able to land this thing on Minmus. Like, look how tiny those are. I highly doubt that that would work. However, 4 twitches might well be able to. So I'm going to save this temporarily. We're in Minmus right now. We can actually see that our thrust to weight right now in Minmus would be 1.91. If we were to remove all of this over here, like I want to recore this, so we'll reroute this to the remote guidance unit up here. And then if we removed this section, we can see we've got plenty of thrust to weight to make that happen. So that's excellent. And this is broken a little bit. Okay, there we go. We do need to reroute it, but that's fine. We'll save that. Excellent. So we can see that this would theoretically successfully land. I'm a little bit concerned about the mass over this way, but I mean, if we tossed in an ASAS, that would probably be enough. And that's with this thing fully fueled as well. How much burn time is that? A lot. A whole lot. Okay. Oh boy, that was a bit of an edit there. I accidentally hit the stop recording button, and it didn't go well. So we're almost done with this episode, and that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and detach this temporarily. I'm not going to save it, and we're going to launch this, and we're just going to put this over Minmus as a simulation here. I want to double check the thrust to weight. I want to check to see exactly how well it ends up working in terms of the gyroscope that we've got in there. And I want to check to make sure that our heat is okay. We're off the pad. That's fine. We don't need no crash damage in theory, and we're just going to give ourselves a position over Minmus here. That is not exactly the angle I was hoping for. Okay. Well, let's see what we've got. A lot of noise, that's for sure. Our gyroscopes are definitely struggling. Of course, we're currently physics easing. There is that. I mean, I'm not too shocked by this, considering that we are physics easing. Okay, so let's just go ahead and burn this like so. Trying to hit that sweet, sweet retrograde marker. And we can see that our thrust to weight is fine. Okay. Let's go ahead and let this guy fall on down a bit. Yeah, we're going to have physics easing here, so I'm definitely going to physics warp us as we attempt to roll this. I can see for sure that we are weak in our gyroscope. Not, however, I think unmanageably so. So all we need to do here, of course, is bring this guy right on in. And let's just hit up that retrograde position. Yeah, this is a weak gyroscope for sure. I do want to add a stronger gyroscope, but that's the reason why we do these simulations. Okay, I was just doing that to try to push us up this way a little bit. We're still physics easing, so this is to be expected. Okay. This is a very weak gyroscope. Gotcha. Now, we're not going to be straight here, and that's fine. The main thing I want to check... yeah, I mean, bouncing like that is expected. The main thing that I want to check here is the thrust to weight and the gyroscope. Everything else is reasonably fine. So that is about the information that I needed. Let's go ahead and revert that back once again. As far as the actual heat issue goes, we can always bring more radiators up and attach them if we need to with our engineer. So that will be just fine. The engineer will probably come separately, I'm thinking. So overall, that is a good first step. I think we've just about got our... I don't want the autosave version. I think we've just about got our base... this is not correct, but I think we've just about got our landing platform and our setup all good to go here. We just need to actually get it onto Minmus and get it constructed. So that is going to be what we're going to do starting next episode. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and I will see you all next time.